Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
You're listening to the financialsurvivalnetwork.com. I'm Kerry Lutz on 1590 WPSL. So the Fed met last week. FOMC gave out their usual jibber-jabber press release. And I have a question for you. When is $85 billion per month in purchases not enough? When is it too little? When is it too much? Well, there's only one person to talk to about that. Andy Hoffman. Andy, how are you?
Great. I'm the only person to talk to about this. I'm honored.
Yeah, well, you pretty much call their movements before they've even thought of them, you know?
Well, the movements are print money and keep printing money. And when things get worse, which they always do, print more money.
You know what that reminds me of? There's a place in Connecticut it started, but they've got them all over Connecticut and New York called Stu Leonard's. They sell like produce. It's a huge, huge store, farm store. And it says, rule number 1, the customer is always right. If in doubt, and then the customer is always right. Rule number 2, if in doubt, see rule number 1. So I was going out with this woman. She was a piece of work a long time ago. And her sister went there and she asked them, she was buying a roast beef and asked them, how long should I cook it for? And through no fault of their own, she overcooked it. So she went back and said, I followed your directions when I was cooking my roast beef. And they said, okay, so you overcooked your roast beef. What do you want us to do? And she says, well, look at rule number 1. I want a refund. And they really were annoyed to hell with her, but they gave her the refund. So I want to know where my refund is from the Fed, because they're giving the $85 billion a month to the banks. It's basically a gift, isn't it?
Absolutely. In fact, on the topic, my good friend Daniel at FMT just put out a video this morning called Breaking Inequality. And I think it's going to go viral. It's just an amazing discussion of the history of how such inequality as you are discussing goes on, how the bankers get everything and the rest get nothing.
Yeah, so the rich get rich and the poor get poor. I hate that cliche. But how do you become a Federal Reserve Bank? That's what I want to know. I want to become a Federal Reserve Bank. I want to be too big to fail, just like JP, just like BOA, just like Citi and Wells and all the rest. Why can't I be too big to fail, Andy?
It's a private club, and unfortunately, you just got to be lucky. You got to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth, or be one of those lucky few who has it put in there. And the situation we see today is no different than it's ever been throughout history. Whenever you have a fiat currency system, the bankers are the ones that get most rich from it, because printing money inevitably makes financial markets go up. And when they get rich, they use that money to take over government. It's happened throughout history. Heck, I was a banker, or an analyst actually, but I got into the game too late. I got into the game in the mid-90s. You had to get in like Warren Buffett at the beginning of the bull market to build your wealth and power and get into that club. So for the rest of us, we're just going to have to fight uphill. But fortunately, we know how to do it.
Yeah, and how do you do it again? I'm not sure.
Well, how do you try to do it? You certainly try to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver, and prepare for the things. As you said, we can see their moves coming. I just explained what they are, and react to them by being ready for the inflation they're going to create. It doesn't mean you're going to become a rich banker, but it does mean that you're going to be able to survive what's coming.
And that's really the key: is survive with at least a good portion of your wealth intact, and you'll be ready to fight another day. That's
right. And that's the best we could do. Look, we're going to talk about Silver Circle. The movie just came out. I hosted a premiere in Boulder, Colorado this weekend. Just fantastic. And, when I talk constantly about you own the precious metals because you want to protect what you have, as opposed to owning the precious metal paper investments to make money, you have to see the movie and understand the world that he's portraying in the future to understand that owning silver is not something that makes you rich. It just enables you to live your life normally. And for the majority of people, they will never understand that until it's too late.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this guy or not, Adam Clary, Captain Capitalism.
I
You
do
ever heard
not.
of him? He's a great guy. He just wrote a book called Enjoy the Decline. And basically, his premise is that don't bother with college, don't bother with night school and all that stuff, because you're just wasting your money under the current environment. And, you know, the best thing you could do basically is be a parasite, as well as buying gold and silver, you know?
Well, we've talked about college before. The education system is so expensive that almost no one could afford it, and B, it doesn't produce anything. We're talking about Daniel again. They put out that video, College Conspiracy, a few years back, showing you why it literally doesn't pay to go to college. And in this new video, he's talking about a potential scenario where all the students get together and burn their loans because they don't produce anything. I forgot what the other thing you were talking about was. You said don't go to college, and what was the other thing?
Be a parasite. Work for the government. Because there's no incentive at all to become a regular employee, because you work your butt off. You pay half your income over to the government, one form of the government or another. You wind up with nothing, and then you wind up just getting defeated by the game. You're falling behind.
It's not even a matter of you're not incentivized to work. You are incentivized to not work. Mm-hmm. I mean, the figures prove that in most cases, unless you're a highly skilled worker in one of the few desired industries, it literally is financially advantageous to be unemployed, collect unemployment, collect welfare, disability, SSI, all those things that are out there for you, rather than work. And as the government tries to take control of society further, as the middle class is destroyed further by the money printing, more and more people will choose this option. And the government wants you to choose this option so that you'll listen to them when they tell you that there was a shooter in Newton, or there was a bomber in Boston, or there were a bunch of Arabs at 9/11. They want you to be controlled. And again, this is the premise of the Silver Circle movie, which everyone must watch in the showings that are still around the country, or when it comes out on DVD on the 1st of July.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it in Spokane, or most of it, and it was quite powerful. It was extremely well done, and the plot was wonderful. And hey, it's definitely worth your time and your effort to take advantage of it, because it's just that true.
And we even see the Miles Franklin logo in graffiti in the middle of the movie. So for posterity, they're preserved.
Hey, a little product placement for milesfranklin.com, huh?
Right.
I love it. Yeah, well, hey, we're finding out like more and more every day about just the corruption, the out-and-out falsity, the just total scam that everything we thought was real turned out to be.
Yeah, and sadly, it's only getting worse. And again, I mean, you have to look at Friday's quote unemployment report, and it's so funny. I was watching this video this weekend. It was Peter Schiff on CNBC interviewing with Maria Bartiromo and some Permabol guy. And Maria and this guy are profusely talking about the unemployment report, which even like a reasonably intelligent 12-year-old can figure out is complete BS in every manner. But then I'm listening to them saying, this guy in particular going, you have to admit the economic data has been really improving lately. And I'm going, what planet is this guy on? First of all, this unemployment report, even if you took it at face value, was not that good to start with. But aside from that, every number we've seen over the past month has been incredibly horrible. The Chicago PMI last week plunged to 49. It's a recessionary number. Week after week, day after day, we see numbers saying lowest number since 2008, biggest drop since 2009, and that's just in America. Of course, we know in Europe they hit last month their all-time high unemployment, their all-time low GDP as a group, and lowered interest rates last week to boot, let alone what they did in Japan. And even China, the numbers are rolling over. India reduced interest rates last week across the board. So I'm not sure where anyone, even objectively, could try to say that anything is improving, other than this weekly jobless claims number, which is so badly seasonally adjusted and manipulated by the BLS as to break off from all semblance of reality. So the fact is, the Ponzi scheme will continue with the money printing. All it will do is cause further destruction, and you're going to see further money printing until we reach that silver circle environment. Whether it's in 2014, 15, or 19 like the movie, I don't know, but it is coming.
Yeah, well, I would venture to say it's coming sooner rather than later, because at some point the thing just becomes unsustainable and collapses. Now, people tell me, no, that's not going to happen, can't happen, because wages don't go up, so we're not going to have hyperinflation. But look, in Weimar, in Germany, before it collapsed, the government was printing up money and giving it to the populace to buy food, to buy the necessities so that you didn't starve. And how is that different than EBT cards, what they're doing now?
Wages don't have to go up for hyperinflation. In fact, during hyperinflation, businesses go out of business and people get fired. It has nothing to do with wages. In fact, wages are the last thing that will go up. I mean, what goes up in price is the cost of living. Yeah,
commodities, the things that you have to have, the things that you don't. And then you have the crack up boom once people understand that the currency is doomed and they just want to get everything they can out of the currency into real things, whatever it is, even if it's Bic pens. And one of the things that Aaron Clary says to buy is boxes of Bic lighters, because that'll become currency if it all hits the fan.
Yeah, I mean, anything you need. I have a piece. Anytime someone brings up the dopey deflation argument, even though they don't even know what it actually means, they just use it to say, well, look, the stock market's down, that's deflation, etc. I have a piece called Want versus Need, which I put out, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And it basically says that when you print money, the things that you want don't necessarily go up in price. In fact, they ultimately go down because the economy stinks. But anything you need to live on, whether it's food or energy or medical costs, will go up in price. And they have. There's no one out there who could say that any of those things are anywhere near, have done anything but go up. And all of them, essentially, are at or near all-time highs.
Yep.
Including big lighters, I'm sure.
No doubt it all is. And yeah, that's why you need to be buying this stuff now. Certainly ammunition's at an all-time high. So I wonder what the ammunition, what would you call that? The API, ammunition price index, is year over year.
Well, that one is probably up 50% year over year. And that's not just about inflation. It's also about, for instance, the government draining supply, just like the public is draining the supply of physical silver. And it's also about fear of what's coming. The fear occurs because the financial markets don't match the reality of the world. People are out of work, and they are destitute, and they are fearful. And each day that moves on, they're going to be buying more bullets, and they're going to be competing with governments as well now.
Yeah, I think ammunition could conceivably become a competing currency when it all hits the fan. And maybe that's why, Homeland Security said, we're just buying this stuff because it's cheap. They finally get them up there on Capitol Hill. How many bullets have you got there stockpiled? 250 million. So not quite enough to kill every man, woman, and child in the United States, but certainly it's a good start. And why do you need them all? And I didn't hear them ask them why they needed 2,700 light tanks, mine-resistant vehicles. I'd like to know all this stuff, but nobody seems to want to ask the question to get the answer.
Hey, we're competing with the government right now to buy those bullets. We're also competing with central banks of the world to buy gold and silver, particularly gold, because there's not enough silver out there for any central banks to acquire. The only difference is there's no futures market for bullets that can be naked shorted all day long at 8:20 and 10 o'clock and 2:15 a.m. and 12 o'clock. But ultimately, as we've seen any time in history, that you try to create a paper market that parallels or manipulates the physical market, it always breaks. And so it's just a matter of time when we'll be outright competing for the little physical gold out there with the central banks, with no one able to control the increase.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just a matter of time. It's coming soon. Be ready for it. On that note, Andy, got to run, milesfranklin.com. Oh, don't forget, libertymastermind.us. You can go onto financialsurvivalnetwork.com, click right through to it. Conference is coming, and I hope to have the Silver Circle people there to give you a premiere showing of the Silver Circle, and you don't really want to miss it. Andy's going to be there along with the 14 other incredible speakers, guys like David Morgan, Martin Armstrong, so many others. Berwick's going to be there, so you get a little anarchical taste of things, but I think it's something that you really don't want to miss.
I agree. Can't wait for it.
Yep, right around the corner. All right, Andy, we'll talk to you again soon. You be well.
You too.
Take care. Remember, go to our sponsor's site, audiblepodcast.com/Lutz. They've got over 100,000 audiobook titles. All the latest books generally you're going to find there. It's such a great thing. When you have a long car ride or you're working out at the gym, whatever, it's something that you'll really enjoy. I do. audiblepodcast.com/Lutz.